Hello, welcome to Business and Life Advice with Ataande Advisors. My name is Achumboro Ataande. I'm the CEO of Ataande Advisors, and I will be the one who will answer your questions. Here, you can ask anything business,
How would you recommend I develop these mini experts?
leadership,
What is the best way to be a female CEO?
self-development.
Where do you kind of like go to gain those experiences or to find your ideas?
I mean, it's something that I really pride myself in being able to kind of pace myself to do while I'm working on the business and just have other roles.
I love that we came full circle back to the educational styles. That's amazing.
You know your business best, you know your needs best. What is your first question you'd like to ask? Hello, welcome to Business and Life Advice with Ataande Advisors. Today I have a few questions about what to do within the workplace. So there's a lot of self-development questions, a lot of how to improve in work, how to be recognized by your manager. And one of the first questions is, how do I gain respect and the trust of my team and manager when transitioning to a new role with no direct experience? So I'll jump into that in a bit. A little bit more about this channel. My name is Achumboro Ataande. I'm the CEO of Ataande Advisors. And I created this channel to give people a space where they can come on, ask their questions, and kind of think of me as your mentor, advisor, coach, etc. We do have a lot of these services, but we wanted to open this up to the public and give people a space where they can come and ask questions. Usually we have people come on, but today we've taken in a bunch of written questions from people who may not want to show up for one reason or another. So they wrote in, and today we're going to go through that. So a little bit more about me. I am a 4-time entrepreneur. I run 2 businesses right now. I am also an attorney. I'm an angel investor. I invest in startups here in the US and also in Africa. I'm an adjunct professor. And enough about me, this is about you. So let's jump into the first questions I said. So the first question we have from a lady named Marie: how do I gain the respect and trust of my team and manager when transitioning to a new role with no direct experience? So I want to start here with, first you mentioned respect, which I want to point out is different than people liking you. A lot of times people conflate respect and liking, and they're 2 different things, right? So we're focusing on respect, which means people trust the way you work. It may not necessarily mean that people want to hang out with you, right? So let's start off with, what are reasons people respect others in the workplace, right? Just think about that. And when you're trying to develop respect, you have to come from, what do people respect, right? One of the easiest things that people may respect is past performance, right? So if they knew you came from another company and you were doing great, even though this is a different role with work, they say, okay, this person was doing great. We can expect, or we can respect that this person did a lot of great things in their past role, even though this is a different role. Now, when you're moving to a new role or moving to a new company, there's certain things you must do. So let's start off with what people really respect. One of the things is hard work, right? So if you're somebody who shows up early, leaves late, and I mean this is in a positive environment, right? So we have workplace cultures where it's kind of cool not to care. I'm not talking about those companies. With all due respect, and actually I try to speak on this channel as how I speak to my clients, how I would speak to my future kids, etc. And one of the things that we all need to realize is, the companies where people don't take the job seriously, those companies are not going to last. So I'm not going to address those types of companies, because hopefully you're a person who cares about their job and you want to be around other people who care about their jobs. Because if you're in a place where nobody cares about the job, how long do you think the company is going to last, right? It's not going to stay. It's not going to be competitive, etc. So hard work, a place they'll see, hey, you come in early, you leave late, you do the work, right? Even if you don't know the role yet, they can say, hey, I can trust that person, that they will continue working until they get it done. So that's one of the things that is easier to show that you're somebody who's going to work hard, and you can do that by showing up early and leaving late, right? And even coming in, if you're really behind the ball, this is something I tell people. If you're really behind the ball and you can't complete your work in 40 hours, try to do it in 45, do it in 50. However much time it takes you to get the job done, do that. While you may feel like, hey, I'm being underpaid, your role and the way you keep your role is by showing people you can perform. And the way you get promoted and bonuses and recognition and respect, right, is by continually performing and overperforming. So eventually that 50 hours will come back into 45, will come down at 40, and you might even be able to get it done in 30, 20, 10 hours, etc., depending on how much you push yourself. So be willing to do the extra work necessary to get the job done, and even better, to go above and beyond. Right? Another thing is, let's say you come in and you don't, but you quickly show that you're capable. Right? You quickly show that you're capable. Those are things that people respect. Going the extra mile. I can respect somebody who's always going to go out their way or go above and beyond what I asked for or what a boss asked for. Think about when, let's say before work, right? When you're in college, who did you respect on your team, right? People who, when you're doing a group project, people who got the job done and went above and beyond. Like, hey, I can count and I appreciate you because now the work you did is affecting my grade, right? My performance in the class. And the same thing in the workplace. Same thing whether you're entry level, mid level executive, or senior level executive, right? Those are things to do. Availability / dependability, right? I can respect people I can rely on, right? So if I know you're available to help out, if I know you're dependable when you say you'll do something, that you actually do it, that's a big thing for me, right? That's a big thing for me. That's a big thing for employers. That's a big thing for teams, right? So knowing that you're available and able to do the work that's necessary. So, and I would also say, because you said this is you're transitioning to a new role, are you taking the steps to become better, right? Are you going to trainings, right? And while you're doing training, are you updating your manager, your team? Hey, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and this is how long I think it'll take me to hit the ground running. Now, the last thing I'll say, just a pro tip when you come in, because you're coming in, you may not know the team, you don't know the role. One thing that happens in militaries wear uniforms, right? And the corporation, if you kind of look at it as a military unit, people, even if it's a laissez-faire attitude in a company, people usually have a uniform, the expectation around dress. So do you know that expectation around dress? Are you coming for and putting your best foot forward by dressing in a similar way to the team, right? And that's one of the ways to kind of gain respect, say, hey, I fit in here, right? He or she is similar. Okay, so one of the things I'll say, even before you start, go try to figure out, especially it's easier to do if this is a larger company, but go try to figure out, hey, how do people in this company dress, right? How do they show up? Are you fully put together? If it's a dress down environment, there's different types. Is it polo shirts, right? So figuring that out and putting yourself together, kind of that visual when they first see you, it's going to have a big effect on their level of respect for you and how open they are to including you into that team. So we have another question. I have an issue with comparison, right? And she continues saying, comparison is the thief of joy. Please provide encouragement or advice on the mindset needed to run my own race without comparing my assignments or contributions with that of my teammates. That's a great question, Marie. That's a great question. And I love the premise that you did say comparison is the thief of joy. So what I'll say, one of the things to do, and comparison comes from looking to the left and to the right? It comes from looking to the left and to the right. So what you must do first is focus in on your own goals, your agenda, and how you will judge yourself. What is happiness to you? What is success to you? I'll say take an hour to write that down. That's how it's taken out to write that down. And then after that, the next step I would say is now after you've written that down, put that on in a place where you see that every day when you wake up and every night before you go to sleep. And the more that you can visualize that and put that in front of you and keep that to remind you what you're focusing on, then then you're less likely to focus on other people and compare what their success looks like. So write down what does success look like to you and focus on that. Now, I would say everybody has a different path, right? People have ups, people have downs. We do not know what other people are going through. We do not know how other people achieved the success they have achieved or whether it is truly success. So a reminder, a big reminder I have for myself, and I messed up on this. I'll share a little bit of story. But is I don't know what people are going through. I don't know what that road looks like. And I know that life has ups and downs. So if somebody's doing well, I try to use it as motivation to say, hey, success is possible, right? Success is possible rather than saying, oh man, this means I'm so far behind. Because, and with my first business, I actually made that mistake, right? So At that time, there was a huge company called Theranos, right, which was ran by Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes, and she was a billionaire. She's the same age as me. And I was like, wow, how is this person so far ahead? And I'm here with barely a couple coins to rub together. What am I doing so wrong? And how is she so right? And I'm so far behind, right? And then a few months later, or a few years later, it was revealed that it was a massive fraud going on. So that's one of the things I say is that you never know what's really going on. And it's best to focus on your goals and try to because their success isn't really going to affect your success. And don't look at them as somebody who's in the way of you going forward. Now, I gave that negative example, but I also want to say that there are people who are doing really well and doing it the right way. That should be motivation that we can use to say, hey, it is possible, right? It is possible for us to get there and go forward. So that's something I would say to think about. Another thing, I said visualize and write down what you want to do. But on top of that, having daily affirmations, right? So positive self-talk. And this is something that I struggled against too. I had a mentor tell me, hey, this guy, multimillionaire, very wealthy, doing some huge things. And this is this is around the time when my other company did not have money and etc. He was saying, hey, dude, every morning I wake up, I go in the mirror and I yell, XYZ, you're so great, you're awesome, you're going to get this, you're doing well. And I was like, and I got back, I was like, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that, right? That's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. And I was being so hard headed at that time, and I was so wrong. And why is I so wrong? When somebody's in such a much better position than you, and you want what they have in a way like, hey, I want that level of success, or I want listen to them when they're giving advice. And the advice that was given was say affirmation, excuse me. So that's what I'll say to you and everyone else. Please make sure, especially if you're dealing with some negative thought, which is a self-talk, which is, oh, this person's doing better than me. I'm not as far ahead as I wish I was. Does my team really respect me, etc.? I'm not saying that you have that, but I'm just extrapolating a little bit. This is something you can do to fill your mind with positive thoughts, to give you more confidence and help you go and focus on your goals. All right. So now we have another question about workplace evangelism. So please discuss how Christians can be the light in their workplaces and how we can win souls for Jesus without offending or being weird. What actions can we take that will draw folks to Christ without using too many words? Wow, that is a great question. That is something that I understand why you would have that question, and I understand why people would go through this. So one thing, I'm going to take a step back, right? Early Christianity, I think so many times we think we have to be accepted with our viewpoints and our strength. Early Christians were persecuted, right? So to say, hey, how can we offend? I understand the question, or be weird. Christianity is not meant to be accepted by everyone, right? It's not meant to be non-offensive. That's not Christianity, right? I think a better question or a better way to look at it would be, how can we do this wisely, right? How can we do this in a way that will win souls to Christ? How can we do this? And I say souls, not I don't say the most, right? I say souls because some people say the most. I'm not. I don't know what's the answer the most, but the souls God wants us to bring to Christ, right? The people He placed us around. So what I would say around that is, one of the biggest things to do, the first Bible I think many people read is the Bible of the Christian, meaning the Bible of the Christian's life, right? So how do you approach people? How do you talk? How do you react when you're angry, right? How do you do your work? Are you showing up to work and being diligent, right? Are you forgiving? Are you loving? Are you assertive? Are you wise? Some people say, are you successful? People are looking at your life, right? People are looking at your life. People are looking at your actions. And for me, that's the way I evangelize, right? Through my life, through my actions, through how I react to people. And sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I get it wrong. I'll say something that I probably shouldn't have said. I'll do something that I maybe should not have done. But these are things that this is the first Bible that people read, right? And then to continue on with this, sometimes you're sharing something you don't know where in the process God has put you, right? So maybe you're somebody who's planting the seed, but you're not the person watering it, right? Maybe you're somebody who's watering the seed, but you're not the person tilling the ground, right? Maybe you're somebody tilling the ground, but you're not the person planting the seed, right? Maybe you are trimming the plant, but you're not the one harvesting, right? So we don't know what part of the process God has put us in. And sometimes a seed that was planted 10 years ago blossoms in year 11, right? Where you're not out the picture, or you don't know you had this impact. Or sometimes, hey, you add some water and somebody adds some other water and somebody adds some fertilizer, and then it starts to take root. So not putting all this pressure on yourself, and really asking God, what do you want me to do today? What do you want me to do this week? Right? And living your life to Christ in terms of everything you do. And that's something I would say. And that also sometimes means saying no, meaning, are you going to turn down something, even if it's a massive promotion, quote unquote, prestigious job offer, a ton of money? Are you willing to turn something down? And people may not like it when you do that. People may not believe in it, but they'll see that, hey, this is something they truly believe in, right? This is something they truly believe in. This is something to go for. And that's something that helps other people learn that this is a way of life, right? This is a way of life. So something to think about, something to go through. New question. How do I strive to provide an above average work product while still maintaining work-life balance? So this question, I laugh a bit because I'm probably the person who believes in work-life balance the least, right? Right now, I am traveling. Actually in Bali right now, and here I am working, right? My wife's going to have dinner, but I need to be here getting this done, putting out these videos, right? So I don't believe in work-life. What I believe in work-life alignment. That's what I believe in. One of my mentors, he showed me that phrase. So what I believe is work-life alignment. And what does that mean? That means is your work matching your vision for your life, right? And does your work style align with the lifestyle you want to live, right? So, hey, yes, I can travel to Bali, I can travel to other places, but that's because even when I'm working, I'm still working the same 60, 80, 90 hours. Whatever I need to get done, I am doing that. And that has set me up for this. Uh, I think I'm just going to be direct, right? A lie that's been told to the masses is, hey, you can work less and get more. It doesn't work that way, right? You reap what you sow, right? We reap what we sow. So what does that mean? When we are the work we done, the 60 to 70 to 80 hours to 90 hours, it took me a long time for that to pay off, right? It took me a long time of doing that for that to pay off. But now I'm able to get more out of it because I provide more value, right? Versus a lot of times people are just selling these courses, people are selling these lifestyles, people are promoting, hey, you can 20-hour work week, 30-hour work week. You can it doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work. Who's going to pay you for the 20 hours or 30 hours of work you're doing the same as you're getting paid for the 40 hours if you're producing less, right? If you're producing like, so it's okay if you want to do that. I'm not going to tell you what success should mean for you. It's okay if you want to do that. However, when doing that, we have to realize that, hey, it may mean that you have to eat one less meal a week, or it may mean you have to live in a different neighborhood than you prefer to live in, right? So does your work, the style of work, meaning how hard you work, the type of work you do, etc., match the lifestyle you want to live, right? And are you willing to pay the price to live the life you want to live? Costs are going up, right? Costs are going up. I know there's a lot of talk about UBI. Where's that money going to come from, right? So one of the things that I'm really worried about, what work opportunities are going to be available for most people with the integration of AI. I think AI is going to lead to massive breakthroughs in humanity, whether health, wellness, other breakthroughs. However, I do think that it's going to lessen the need for labor, right? Lessen need for people to hire workers. And when that demand goes down, the governments that people are complaining about, I don't understand why people think those same governments are going to implement a fair, let me not say fair, implement a policy of payments that's going to take care of the masses, right? So that's something that I worry about, and I think because of that, everybody, especially for the next few years, even maybe even more, as much as possible, try to increase your ability, try to increase your value, try to increase uh, your impact on the market, right? So that you can have an opportunity to take care of your family. Because unfortunately, we may go back to where just single workers in a whole household. Maybe that's a bit dire, but then if you're single, now you have to take care of a family unit and there's no supplement. Maybe not mother, brother, sister's not working, father is the only one working, or sister is the only one working. And so there's a bigger need to take care of those expenses. So that's something that's a big worry of mine. And one of the reasons why we're doing this is because we want to make sure we give people all the tools possible that we know of so that they can take care of their families and continue to grow and be part of moving our world forward. Okay, we have a question here. How can an introverted person win the affection of their work family? So, according to Inc., as many as 40% of executives describe themselves as introverted. So, you're not by yourself. You may think that leadership is only extroverted, but 40%, as many as 40% of leaders are actually introverted. So, for examples, you have Rosa Parks, President Obama, Mark Zuckerberg, First Lady Laura Bush, and Bill Gates are described as introverts. Case study: Bill Gates is a well known introvert who has built strong relationships throughout his career, right? He focused on small, meaningful interactions and used his listening skills to understand and connect with his team, right? His reliability and consistency in delivering results helped him gain the respect of his colleagues and partners. Now, let's talk about how you can do it now that you have some examples of other people who are well known who are introverts as well. So, you can build strong relationships at work by leveraging your natural strengths. Here's some specific strategies, right? Most introverts, even I'm also an introvert. Most people don't get that, but I'm actually an introvert. We're great at actively listening, right? So, since we're quiet, since we're not sharing as much, perhaps especially not in large crowds, we're great at listening. So being able to pay close attention during conversation, show empathy and respond thoughtfully, right? This can make your colleagues feel valued and understood. Now, another thing, I know I prefer one-on-one reactions to group interactions. So something to focus on, like building relationships via one-on-one meetings or small group settings, right? Where you may feel more comfortable sharing and expressing yourself. That's something to think about. Try to set up instances where you can do that, right? And finally, just like Bill Gates, reliability and consistency, right? So being dependable and consistently delivering quality work can earn the respect and affection from your work colleagues. So those are some things to think about. These are ways you can really dive in and get the affection as an introvert. The next question is, who typically gets promoted and why? How can I set myself up for a promotion in a short time frame? It's a good question. So, promotions are often given to those who show leadership potential, right? So, that's strong performance and also alignment with company values. You don't really want to promote somebody who doesn't align with company's values. So, the key steps to set yourself up for promotion include excelling in your current role. Nobody wants to promote somebody if the person isn't already doing a great job in their current role. So, deliver outstanding results, focusing on what are the results that are required and then trying to deliver outstanding. So going above and beyond, right? What is expected. Seeking feedback. So regularly ask for feedback from both your colleagues and management, people above you in the hierarchy, and show that you're willing to act on it. So don't just ask for, go and follow up, do work on it, do it, and then say, hey, thank you for the feedback. I've taken this and this steps. Do you have more feedback for me? right? So constantly doing that in a way you're reminding them that you are taking the feedback and you're applying it, and then they can see after a while, hey, I think this person, based on what they're doing, based on the feedback, they've actually outgrown their role, and we can look to them to put them in a higher position with more responsibility, right? And that leads into the next thing, taking on additional responsibilities. So are you volunteering for projects or tasks outside your normal scope of work? How do I know you're ready for something, or how do I know you can take on more responsibility if you're not showing me that, right? So showcase that. Say, hey, sign up to work with another work team. Uh, Tell your boss, tell a colleague, hey, I would love to help with you with that if you need some help on that. This is a great way for you also to learn the additional things you may need to do in the next role. So doing that, it may require that you stay later. It may require that you go and work earlier. But these are ways that you can get promoted faster. Okay. And then building relationships. At the end of the day, it is who you know, but I like to say even more than that is who knows you and who knows what you're capable of doing. Excuse me. Who knows what you're capable of doing. So you have to network with key stakeholders. So who's network with your colleagues, of course, every people in the department, your manager, your supervisor, maybe one or two levels above them as well. And then also with additional teams. So now that your name comes up more easily in conversations, say, hey, this person's doing good work. And if people continue to hear your name, plus they've had great interaction with you, that puts you ahead of the curve for getting a promotion, especially if you want a promotion in a shorter time frame. So case study. So Sheryl Sandberg, who was the COO of Facebook, quickly moved up the corporate ladder by consistently delivering exceptional results. She was actually at Google before she was at Facebook. And at Google, she took on roles beyond her initial scope, which demonstrated her leadership potential and also her willingness to handle more responsibilities. Her proactive approach and ability to forge strong relationships led to her promotion to vice president of global online sales and operations before she eventually joined Facebook as COO. She also has a great book called Lean In, which may speak more about that. I read that a few years ago, so I don't really remember everything top of mind, but that's something you can dig into as well. Okay, so our next question is, how can we work smarter, not harder? What are some tips for being efficient at work? So, working smarter really boils down to prioritizing tasks, delegating efficiently, and using tools to streamline your process, right? So, some tips, time blocking, right? So, that is allocating specific times for focus work and to avoid interruptions. So, you can say, hey, the first hour of the day or the first 30 minutes, I'm going to spend emailing. I'm using that example. I actually think people shouldn't respond to emails till later in the day, but that's another topic for another conversation. But time blocking that way. Okay, my next hour, 2 hours, I'm going to work on strategy, right? And so I'm blocking that out. I'm focused, and this helps you build up momentum. So instead of quickly switching between tasks, which people think that's more productive, it's actually not, because you lose momentum and you have to change your focus. So it doesn't work as well as most people think it was. Automation, right? So using software to automate repetitive tasks, right? So you can set up software so there's something like Calendly, so people can automatically schedule meetings with you. And you can say, hey, this time is available on my calendar, this time's not available on my calendar. So software and other things can help streamline your time and help you work smarter. Delegation. So avoid tasks that have low impact in you moving forward. There still may be tasks you have to do, but figuring out how can you possibly delegate. And one of the things I would highly recommend to anybody who can afford it is looking to hire an assistant or virtual assistant, right? You can get a virtual assistant for $5 to $10 an hour, right? You can hire somebody overseas for $5 to $10 an hour. That is a phenomenal wage for many people in many countries. And then they can take over some of the tasks on your plate and allow you to free up and focus on the more impactful things that you can possibly do. So these are some things to think about. Setting clearer goals, right? So one of the ways to work smarter is by knowing what you're working towards. So write down your goals and be very clear about what you want to do, and also break down larger projects into smaller, manageable tasks. This helps keep you focused. This helps you not get sidetracked by different things. And finally, review regularly what you're doing, right? And whether you're making progress. So periodically assess your workflow to identify inefficiencies, right? So, hey, could I automate this better? Could I time block this better? Could I delegate this better? Right. So these reviews will help you make sure you are on track and progressing as you deem fit. So another case study I'll say is Tim Ferriss, right? So he advocates for working smarter in his book 4 Hour Work Week. Right? And one of the ways that he really dives into this is about automating and delegating many aspects of his business, which you can also do with your life. Right. And the key thing is he automates and delegates that in order that he can spend more time focused on high value activities. Right. So by applying these principles, he significantly increased his productivity and efficiency. But one thing I'll say, don't just think it's about shutting down your hours. Something I don't think Tim Ferriss talked about enough, or people didn't extract from his book. He did a lot of work before he was able to compress his time. So this may lead to you having to have a longer work day or longer work week at first to really figure it out, and then you can start shrinking that. Once you have excess capital that you can invest in other places, and you can really start streamlining, you can start delegating, you can build a team. And when I say to hire a assistant, do this even if you work at a company. You don't have to be boss, manager, supervisor to get an assistant. Put it your own money to get an assistant so you can start streamlining your day. Next question is, when is the right time to start thinking about or looking for my next role after landing a new job? So I would say it's really important to fully integrate and perform well in your current role before considering your next move. Right? Typically, you want to reassess your career growth goals, and growth potential within your role after 18 to 24 months. Meanwhile, always stay open to networking and industry trends. So you're doing this, but what we need to do is have you focused, right? Focus on your role, focus on excelling in it, focus on creating good context, focus on creating good reputation. And you don't want to be jumping around too much, because think about it from the next boss perspective or the next client's perspective. If they see, hey, you're just doing a lot of shorter, is there something wrong? Why doesn't anybody want you to stay around? Or why don't you want to stay around? And there's very few people who think so much of themselves will say, hey, if I hire you, you're going to likely stay longer for me. If I'm seeing a past performance of, hey, this person leaves every 24 X months, right? But if I see that you're growing and you're getting promoted every 12 to 24 months, or every 24 to 36 months, I'm going to say, wow, this person could possibly be a superstar. I see their career growth, I see their career trajectory, and I want to bring them in because I see how they've been promoted at every level within a 2 to 3 year span. So that's something to think about in this timeline. So let me give you another case study. So the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, he joined Microsoft in the 90s, I believe 92, and spent years honing his expertise and reputation within the company. Right, he focused on excelling in each role and continuously learning. Right, his patience and strategic career planning eventually led to his promotion to CEO in 2014, I believe. So his journey, right, illustrates the importance of timing and readiness in career progression. I'm sure when he came in, or if people look back, they'll say, no way this person would have been the CEO of Microsoft, right? But this is what can happen if you take your strategic and thinking about something before you're going into, and you're focused every 18 to 24 months, you're focused on really excelling and networking, right? So those are some things I would say. Finally, don't miss out on continuously training and upgrading your skill set. So the next question is interesting. I think a lot of you will connect with this. Is how can I turn a hard to please manager into an advantage for my career? I think a lot of people on my team will say I'm a hard to please boss, but this is what I'll say as an answer to that. So use your manager's high standards as motivation to improve your skills and performance. Right. So when they're saying, hey, this is standard, I want you to also seek specific feedback and demonstrate a willingness to learn. Right. Proving your resilience and capabilities can earn their respect and create new opportunities. Because think, when there's a high standard, how many people actually hit high standards, right? How many people can actually survive under a hard to please or an excellence bearing manager, supervisor, boss, etc. So if you're able to excel in that standpoint and you do well, think of how many opportunities you have for yourself based on the reputation other people know of working for this person, and also based on the skill set and the habits you've embedded in yourself during this process, right? So, another case study: Steve Jobs was known for being a tough and demanding manager at Apple, owner at Apple, right? CEO. So many employees found his high standards very challenging, but those who rose to the occasion, like Johnny Ive, found the experience immensely rewarding. Right? Ives, I believe Ives was a creative director for Apple. So Ives used Jobs' tough feedback to push him creatively and professionally, leading to the development of some of Apple's most iconic products. Right? This partnership significantly boosted Ives' career and reputation in design. So I would say that the person you become after working for this person and while continuously working for this person, you'll be really impressed with your growth. I've received tons of messages from my people. Some of them were not happy, right? Some of them were not happy in terms of, hey, this is hard. This is your expectations are too high. We don't know if this is possible. You're pushing a lot. And I somebody just sent a message. I actually didn't respond to it, so this this makes me remember to respond to it. Just thanking me. It's his 1 year anniversary at the company, and thanking me for how much I pushed him. Right, how much I pushed him, and the person, and he knows it's been tough, but he's really proud of the person he's become. And I see many messages like that. There's also the other side. So if you leave, I also see the other sides where people resign, or people don't want to work, or people want to put a buffer between me and them. I would say the person who has high standards, it's best to be closer to those people because they're most likely the people who are going to go further in the industry, in the business, in life. And you really want to be closer to people who have high standards, especially if they hold them for themselves and not just for other people. Because if you're meeting them and they can run with you, it's very hard to find people who want to live up to high. They're going to take you everywhere they go. They're going to want to keep you around. They're going to advocate on your behalf. Right? There's people who I'm willing to advocate on my behalf to within my team. There's people, if I started a new company, I would want to keep. So these are things to think about and things that go into the mind of a hard to please manager, and how you can make an advantage for your career. So I have another good question. I think it's in a similar vein, but how can I get what I need from a busy but experienced manager who's a great teacher? So I would say one of the things, especially if somebody's busy and experienced, one of the things is you have to respect their time, right? And you can respect their time by being well prepared and concise when seeking guidance. So have it boil down to essentially an elevator pitch. Have it boil down to, hey, I'm looking for your advice in these specific realms. Don't be vague. Think it through whether you need to spend an hour or a weekend thinking through what you like from them each time you're going to meet them. So prioritize your questions and propose regular brief check-ins to get the support you need without overwhelming their schedule. What I'll say is once you show this person that you thought it through, that you're specific, that you're clear, that you know what you want, ask them one or two questions at first. Just take 2-3 minutes of their time. Well, 2 to 5 minutes, because it may take them a little while to respond to you, of their time, and say, ask them a couple questions. And then try to do that every week or every 2 weeks and show them that you've implemented the advice they've given you. And after you ask the question, say, hey, I've done this, and that. These are the results I got. This is where I felt it really worked for me. This is where it didn't. And give them those updates, because now they'll see, wow, this person's taking my advice. A lot of people ask for advice, but very few people actually implement the advice. So by showing them that you're doing it, and whether it's paying off or it's not paying off, they may be more willing to invest in you further, because like, this person is not a waste of my energy. Because the worst thing that we want, whether it's a manager or whether it's yourself, is to help somebody, to give somebody something and then they discard it, right? So by giving them the updates, that's how they'll feel. That's how they'll feel more connected to you. And then when they're more connected to you, after you do this 1, 2, 3 times, this may take about 2, 3 months. Now the person's becomes slightly invested in you. So at that point, I would say propose regularly brief check-ins to get support you need without overwhelming their schedule. And this is how you turn relationship from a 1, 2 time to possibly into a mentorship, right? I'll say also seek out other resources from colleagues and training materials. So one of the best things you can do in a mentorship is not just to depend on that one mentor for things. If they explain a specific topic to you, what you may want to do is go reach out to other people who may be experts in that time. So now when you go back to the mentor, you say, hey, thank you for this advice. I also went to this, and this person. So now instead of it being a double reward, meaning 2x return, where, hey, you did this and you doubled it, now it turns into possibly a 10x return. They say, wow, for every $1 of my time or energy I give into them, they produce $10 of results. And when the more results you can produce, the faster you grow, the larger you grow. Now somebody's willing to really invest in. Think about how excited you'll be if you're investing in a stock that's growing greatly. So it's the same way with relationships, it's the same way with mentorships, etc. So another case study we have here is from Warren Buffett, right? So Warren Buffett is known for his mentorship, but he's also clearly very busy, extremely busy, right? His longtime partner, the late great Charlie Munger, learned to value their brief but insightful interactions. Munger prepared thoroughly for their meetings and sought additional knowledge from other sources. This approach allowed him to maximize the benefits of Buffett's mentorship while independently expanding his expertise. Next up, we have, what are some effective ways to network in a new work environment? I would say you need to build your network by being proactive, right? Offering help, joining groups, and leveraging social tools. Here are some strategies, right? Introduce yourself. So take the time to introduce yourself to your new colleagues and attend company events, whether it's happy hour, whether it's dinner, whether it's lunch and learns, whether it is whatever, a party, etc. Taking your time to introduce yourself and go into those events. Remember, people may be as nervous as you. And it's bravery, it's courage. You can be nervous, but going up to people and just say, hey, my name is this, I'm new to the company. What department are you in? What are you working on right now? What's your favorite part of this job? Come up with 5 or 10 questions you can ask people, right? That so you don't constantly have to think on the fly. That's another thing is offering assistance, right? Showing willingness to help. Who doesn't want help from capable people in their jobs, right? If somebody came to you and say, hey, can I help? Can I take something off your plate? You still, most people, we clock in and we clock out, but really the job's about getting things done. So if somebody's helping you get more things done, which is possibly going to lead to you getting a faster promotion, if you would jump for it, somebody else would jump for it. So by offering assistance, you can help people get to their goals, which will mean now people view you as value. So they want to create a relationship with you, right? They want to network. Join interest groups. So sometimes there's committees or groups within your interests, or maybe slightly outside of your interests. That is a great way for you to connect with people. And when you go to those groups, since you have a similar interest, you can start the conversation around that interest. Hey, how long have you been interested in this? What's your favorite sports team? Where did we all went to the same school. That's cool. When did you graduate, etc. So these things can help you start creating the relationship. Regular check-ins. So schedule informal catch-ups with colleagues. So hey, let's meet up for lunch, coffee. Let's go out after work together. Just schedule these checkups, have a phone call, check-ins, a way to, and if you can automate it, even better, a way for you to keep in touch and continue, help that relationship continue going, right? Use internal platforms. So whether you're on Microsoft Teams, you're at the Bloomberg terminal, if you're in finance, whatever it is, engaging with peers on these internal communication tools can be helpful. So case study time again. Right. So Meg Whitman, who is the former CEO of eBay, eBay was, I know we don't use that, but eBay, she was the CEO of eBay. And Hewlett Packard is known for her networking skills, right? So which she used effectively at eBay and HP. When she joined eBay, she quickly built relationships across all levels of the company, right? By being approachable, attending events, and offering help. Her strong internal network was crucial to driving eBay's growth and her eventual rise to CEO. Now, why isn't a strong internal network crucial to drive eBay's growth? Part of things at companies can become really fragmented and everybody's in their own silo. If you can be kind of a glue that connects dots, that's immensely valuable, right? Both to leadership and also to other colleagues, because now maybe you're the person connecting 2 departments. And it's not necessarily, hey, middle management. Maybe it's one person who is in their 3rd year wants to talk to another person who's in their 5th year at the company. And while it might not be management level, people can know and see that you're approachable and you're able to bridge worlds. That's something that can help your growth. That's something that also reminds people and helps people think fondly of you whenever you're trying to connect and reach other people in the company and also outside the company as well. All right. Now, what books or authors have helped you along your career journey? That's a great question. This is there's a few, right? There's a few. So, Good to Great is by Jim Collins. So that has insights on transforming good companies into great ones through leadership and strategic planning. The Lean Startup. So I run a business. So the Lean Startup is also critical by Eric Ries. It's around methodology for developing businesses and products through validated learning and iterative releases. I grew up around this like MVP, MVP. MVP means minimal viable product. But oftentimes when you're building something, you want to make it perfect, right? Before you give it out to the world, you want to make it perfect. And that's usually the worst way to do it because it doesn't allow you to interact with the market and get the feedback you need to actually make it perfect or perfect for your customer. So that's something else important. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Oh man, this book is timeless. It's one of the first books I read when I was really ramping up my reading related to business books. But it's one of the first. It's phenomenal in terms of how to communicate with people and build positive relationships. I would also say about books in general, right? It can provide valuable insights and strategies for career development. What I would also say, one of the things I think will help people. People read a lot. I think everybody reads a lot, but there's a difference between timeless information or principle-based information and more current events. And if you're reading current events, the issue with current events, their value its value typically has a shorter expiration date or closer expiration. When you're reading books and reading principles, then you can take knowledge and apply it for longer swaths of your career. So that's something I'll say really important about reading books as well. I would also say, on top of reading, one of the things it does too is it shifts your frame, right? I love books for different. It gives you different frames, aka different ways to look at things, right? And now I can look at this. Okay, how does the CEO look at this? How does middle management look? How does an entry level person look? How does people outside the company look at this? How does a competitor look at this? And having those viewpoints helps you get closer to the truth, right? And helps you get closer to things that you can execute. Another thing that you get from books, it makes it easier to talk with people, right? Because now you have so many different points of knowledge that you can draw upon when you're having a conversation. Right? When you're having a conversation. So it's great in that way. And I'll wrap up with saying this. Well, two things. I'm going to give you a case study. When I started my first business, that was my last year of law school. I went to law school at Vanderbilt, and while I was at Vanderbilt, I was also at that time it was called Owen, right? I was also auditing an MBA, meaning I was allowed since I was at Vandy, I was allowed to go take classes at almost any other place in the school for free as long as I didn't get the credit/degree. Right, so I went in. The business school was right next to law school, so I audited as many business classes as I could, and so I did that. Ran my first business, and after a year or two, when it didn't work, when I made so many mistakes, I realized I learned a ton. But I said, "Wow, even with a law school education and essentially an MBA education, I don't know enough to succeed in this." And I realized I need to read a lot more in order to fill in my gaps in knowledge. And I can tell you my trajectory of income has tripled, doubled, quadrupled. I'm not going to continue, but increased so much since I really implemented reading substantially. When I say substantially, that means 50, 100, 200 books a year. When I started doing that, I just saw the ballooning of my income and also the opening of opportunities in different ways to make revenue as well. So that's something I would say, and I'm a big advocate for reading. That means you can read physically with a book. You can listen to Audible. I love Audible. They're not sponsoring this or anything, but I'm trying to give you things that work for me. I know if you're reading a lot, Audible may be, I don't want to say expensive, but it may conflict with your budget a bit. So there's a thing called LibriVox, LibriVox. I think it's free if you have a library card, meaning you can. I think it plugs into your library and you can pull their books to listen to from there. I prefer the quality of Audible's audio from there, but once again, until your budget matches what you can do, I think that's a great solution as well. Okay, so thank you everyone for your time. This is Business and Life Advice with Ataande Advisors. So on top of signing up to join the podcast and come and ask us questions live, if you don't feel like getting on camera or you feel some of the questions are too personal, you can also email them into us. We have a form. We'll leave that form below. And also we'll leave the form to sign up for the podcast below as well. And send us your questions. We're here to help. You can choose whether you want us to say your name. Some people want it to be anonymous, so I didn't say their names. Or you want us to say your name, and we would happily shout you out for this question too, so you're recognized for being brave enough to send the question. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you. I look forward to doing this next time.